Hello and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the To-Do List. I'm your host, Eric Fisher, and this is the show where we talk to the people behind the productivity. This week you're going to get to listen in on a conversation between myself and my friend, Jeff Sieh. Jeff and I work together and are in the same mastermind together, so we've already had a number of cool conversations about life and productivity and just the striving to be the best version of ourselves. And I thought, why not have Jeff on the show to talk about those things together for a larger audience? And I really think you're going to enjoy this. We talk about some cool stuff like taking time off from having our screens in front of our faces, things that we've done to implement having that change in our lives, as well as spending intentional time away from the internet, especially when you use the internet for your work all day long. We talk about some other health and fitness challenges, some of which I've talked about previously in another episode of this show, even how some of that was inspired by some of the stuff Jeff's doing and what he's doing, and yes, even the fact that he, as the manly Pinterest tips guy with the big old beard, has been doing yoga. You won't want to miss this conversation. Before we get into that, I want to say thank you to Aweber for supporting this episode. Aweber is a leading email marketing platform for growing businesses and entrepreneurs. Aweber has an awesome online resource landing page for anyone who wants to be a better digital marketer or get into doing some of those key pieces and to get out there what it is that you have crafted, whether that's with your hands or on digital space. Either way, head on over to aweber.com/todo and you can find those free videos and downloadable checklists that will let you quickly launch these important marketing tactics. These checklists are going to give you tangible support to help get you started or over that hurdle at the beginning of your journey in whatever it is you need to do. And in fact, even if you're not at the beginning of your journey, but there's something still that's new for you to learn, you gotta go check it out. There is stuff there for people who have never created a first online course or have never created a YouTube video or a Facebook ad or getting people subscribed to your email list or creating shareable images or creating a podcast episode like this one. If any of those things are things that you know you need to do, then you owe it to yourself to get on over to aweber.com/todo. That's aweber.com/TODO and get those free videos, grab those downloadable checklists, move forward into quickly launching those marketing tactics and content creation strategies so that you can move forward in your business and creative journey. Thanks again to Aweber for supporting this episode of Beyond the To-Do List. Enjoy this conversation with Jeff Sieh. This week, it is my privilege to welcome to the show for the first time my friend, Jeff Sieh. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So you and I have known each other, since, was it 2014?
3 years ago? 3 or 4 years, yeah.
I don't know. I think it was my first social media. No, I think it was the second one, maybe 2015. Anyway, it's been almost 2 years now. We met out in San Diego. We were both out at Social Media Marketing World. We both now work for Social Media Examiner. And so it was interesting. You and I have talked a lot about being online all the time and marketing all the time. And I remember you said something very interesting to me was you said, I'm going to have to start taking time off of screens in the evening and doing something with my hands.
Right.
And I wish that I could figure out something to do myself other than mowing my lawn.
Yeah. I don't know what made me think of that. Doing the Manly Mentorship show, I kind of look at the masculine stuff, and there's a great show and podcast called The Art of Manliness, and they're always doing cool stuff like how to build a home out of logs and stuff like that. And I thought, there's something to that, and I grew up in a small little town in Kansas. And so I'd been working in the fields and, since I could, before junior high and had a job and stuff. And, I don't miss working in the fields, don't get me wrong, but I don't like yard work. So I just don't like it.
Oh, yeah.
But I needed something. And I would always been intrigued by, I was growing up, we always would go to Branson every year. My parents would always just love going there. And there's a place called Silver City. And there was always these wood carvers there that my dad would drag me to, and we'd sit there and we'd watch them carve stuff. And a couple years ago, my dad got into wood carving and like figures and stuff. And I thought, that might be something Dad and I can do together. He's getting very close to retirement. And so I started doing that. And it's been so therapeutic. And so I've been trying to, at least for 20, 30 minutes every day, is spending some time carving wood. And it's away from screens. And I think and I love to read. So, and I thought, well, even reading, I'm in front of a screen because I read from a Kindle. And I love watching TV too. But because I do a lot of video stuff, but I said I need to do something that's creative and away from a screen. And it's just been so therapeutic. And I've been preaching it on my podcast and to people like you that I talk with. It's like how important that is. I mean, I'm sleeping better. I'm doing, it's helping me be more creative for stuff like I do for Social Media Examiner. Just spending, that 20 minutes, and I try to do it longer on the weekends. And I'm not super good at it. I mean, it's fun, and I like Christmas stuff, so I do a lot of Christmas little figurines of like these penguins that I can just whip out really quick. I don't even have to measure or do anything, and give those away for Christmas. But it's just been really relaxing. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast. A lot of times I'll just listen to music. And I made a little space up in my office where I can just go and it's my time and I can sit there and carve.
That's awesome. I know that I have had more so in the past than recently, and I'm an avid reader as well. And I have found that even though I have a ton of stuff that I've not ever read on my Kindle app, right. I enjoy reading a handheld book, like a tangible book, more. I don't know why. I think it just feels that way. Maybe it's nostalgia. Right. I don't know. I think it feels like, okay, good. My eyes aren't like bleeding from looking at lights all the day.
And my daughter's that way. And I'm like, well, I have all these books. And see, I had to go to Kindle because we have no more space. I have all these bookshelves, and my wife was going nuts. And so I went to Kindle out of necessity, and I really haven't looked back just because I like it. But yeah, I mean, there is something about holding a book that is just really, really cool. And that's my daughter. I mean, I was like, I'll get you the new Harry Potter one on Kindle. She goes, no, I don't want it. I want it as a book. And so I'm like, okay, I see how you are. She just wants stuff. But anyway, but yeah, I think as we get more and more connected, we have got to be really, really diligent on how we get away from these blasted screens, because we're in front of them all, especially you and I who do this business. We've got to find ways and be very specific on ways to get away from those. So I tell people and the thing is, there's never been a better time to learn something you've always wanted to do. Like if you want to learn how to play the guitar since you're in junior high, well, you can get online and find these things, and you can learn stuff and then take it offline and practice, and not be in front of a screen. But there's never been a better time to learn. I play the 5-string banjo. I know it's weird, but I do. Steve Martin and Kermit the Frog. Yeah. That's why I learned. And Steve Martin's incredible. But when I was a kid, I had to go find a guy because nobody around knew how to play the banjo. I had to go find a guy, and we bartered something so he would teach me how. And I would sit there and record, have like my little big boom box recorder and record the sessions and learn that way. Well, now I can get on and I can go play with the guy who plays with Steve Martin, and he can train me. I can send him tapes back online, and he can evaluate how I'm doing in his lessons. You can take a master class from Kevin Spacey on acting. I mean, there's never been a better time to learn. So my thing is get out and, I understand you guys want to watch all the Game of Thrones and all the, I can do that when I'm retired, when I'm done. But for now, I can learn these new skills and get away from the screen and practice stuff. And I just think people need to be aware and get away from these screens.
Yeah. So the thing you just said, that if it's that good, you'll watch it when you're retired. You kind of got that. And I know this in talking to you. I know you got that from reading Rory Vaden's book, Procrastinate on Purpose. And Rory's been on the show, and he walked us through the steps of figuring that out. And I just remember hearing from you the lessons you were learning as you were reading the book, and just knowing that there was just so much more time, or there was so much less time than you thought you had, and so you wanted to use it all,
Right. Yeah. And so, you and I both have families, and we're really, we want to spend time with our families. So that's very important. And, And don't get me wrong, I love Netflix. I love the shows on there. My wife and I enjoy watching things together. But now I'm really, I don't. I think the last thing I binge watched was Stranger Things, which is an incredible thing. But we actually watched that as a family later, and so. But my thing is, I don't need to. I don't. Part of so many people's routines is they go to work, they come home, they eat, and they turn on the TV and watch TV till it's time to go to bed. I don't want to have that time. And Roy talked about that. Is compounding interest kind of in stuff you do. Is I don't want to have and look back and say I spent all this time sat down watching TV when I could have learned how to carve better, or I could read a book on how to be a better public speaker, or I could have learned how to play the guitar. I mean, compared to TV, those kind of things are a lot cooler to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're talking about essentially investing in who it is you want to be versus accepting and passively sitting and just resting in who you are.
Right. That's the one thing that when my kids or my wife or anybody says something that hacks me off more than anything, it's like, well, I just can't change. No, yes, you can. You can change, and that's if we couldn't change, then I just give up. I want to be better at everything. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better, wood carver. So, I mean, those are things we should be investing in. And I'm just over 40. And so I guess I'm really seeing that I don't want to spend my 40s and 50s and 60s plopped in front of a TV when, I can be doing cool stuff with my kids and learning new things and teaching them things. And I think that's something we also really, as dads and, family guys, is really need to be passing on to our kids, because the culture is saying, stay in your phones, don't talk to anybody, go online, and that's how they're interacting. And there's something to be said I still think with working with your hands, putting in a hard day's work, learning a skill, and not just doing stuff with the screens.
Yeah. I here's the thing. Like, I get it. Like, it's miraculous that we can now do the tricorder thing where,
right.
I can, open up my phone. I can see you and your face miles, millions of miles, hundreds of miles away. Right. We can talk, we can connect, but at the same time, the downside is staring at that thing for so long. And you've got this thing set up at your house with the circle. Let's talk about this. Like, because you've explained to me a couple of different times, and I still don't know that I always fully understand it. But it's this thing from Disney, and it's called Circle, and it lets you like moderate the internet.
Yes, and it's awesome. And I think it actually started as a Kickstarter project and took off, and then Disney bought them. And so it's kind of a cool story. But it's actually a piece of hardware and an app for your phone. And one of the things, and I wish I would have started earlier, and that's why I keep getting on you, Eric. I said, do it now. What it is, it's not a monthly thing. You buy it one time. I think it's right at $99. And it's a little square thing. It looks like it's actually made from Apple almost. It's that kind of cool. And you plug it in. You just put it into a wall outlet. It's got a battery on there in case the kids try to unplug it, which my kids have tried. And it hooks up to your router, and it's a no-brainer thing. You do it through your phone, and it monitors and limits what your kids can do. So, like, what I can do is I set up different accounts for my different kids. I have my son Avery, who is just going to turn 17, and my daughter Abby, who is 14 to sophomore in high school. And I can set different levels for them. So I can say, I want the internet to come on for them at 7 in the morning and go off from them at 10:30 at night. I can also, and they have no access. Boom, it's gone. I can also, for disciplinary issues, is click one button and turn off the internet completely for them. So and I do this quite often, is I'll say, okay, Avery, I need you to go take out the trash, and he won't do it. And I ask him again, Avery, please take out the trash, and he still won't do it. And I'll just go into Circle and go chink and turn off the internet, and lo and behold, he comes out of his room and is taking the trash out.
But only for him. Like, the internet's still working for everybody else, but it's for him.
Just for him
on that device, whatever it is. Like, it knows, and it says no internet for you.
Right. And the other cool thing is you can set up different apps to have different access levels, and you can set up different restrictions for those apps. If you had a young person in your house, like a kindergartner through like third grade or whatever, and you wanted to limit what they can watch on Netflix, you could do the same thing. You can also limit how long somebody is on Netflix. So like during, my kids have so much time they can spend on it when they come home from school. Once that limit is reached, Netflix turns off. The internet's still on for like if they need to use for homework or something else, but they can't go on the app on Netflix anymore. And you can do the same thing with YouTube, which for my age kids works really, really well. And so you can limit all that stuff. Because when I first set up the Circle, I was like, it was during the summer, but I was like, they spent 5 hours on Netflix? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was the other thing that you told me was the reporting stuff. You suddenly found out like, this ain't happening anymore.
Right. And the thing is I tell everybody how to make your kids hate you for $100 or less. It's a great thing. And it was so funny because of course I'm very excited about this. And so I told their friends' parents about it at school. And so they got it too. And so now all the kids hate me. And so it's Jeff is just the hated man.
Yeah.
Because I told him about Get Circle. But the cool thing is even when people come over, so I have like they have like a home for your home. So like when people come, like their friends come over to spend the night, they still have access and restrictions that are set up. So they can't all go on one phone. Oh, he forgot to turn him off. So anybody who connects to my Wi-Fi has these certain restrictions until I turn them off. But it's great. The only downside is it's only for your home internet. You can't take it, when my kids go over to somebody else's house, I have no control over that. Now, they do have a thing called Circle Go, which is a subscription-based service that I have not tested yet that does allow you to limit stuff in that way. I just haven't done...
Like mobile data.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you turn off your mobile data for your kids when they leave, it's not an issue, but my son's a driver, and I want him to have data and stuff like that. So, it could be... If he abused the system or whatever, I would, probably think about doing Circle Go. But for bedtimes and not having to, have them mess, they just know at 10:30 the internet goes off for them. So get your homework done. Now, it's really easy for me to say, Dad, I have a real big project. Can you extend me? And I just go in and click a button and I extend it for, 45 minutes or whatever I need to for them to have. But it's made life so much easier for us as a family.
Well, but even then, they can't lie to you because you'll see if they're using it for something like Netflix.
Yeah, one of the rules is I've never let my kids have Snapchat. And even though I had to use it for work and they thought I was the biggest hypocrite. And so all of a sudden I looked on Circle and I saw that somebody had used Snapchat. And because I had not, turned it off for them. And so we had a conversation about, that you weren't supposed to have Snapchat. Why is this on your phone? Well, I just had it on for a little bit and deleted it. Well, I still saw it. And so you're still in trouble. So anyway, I don't want to sound like I'm this big evil authoritarian parent, but I think you and I have discussed this.
Yeah.
When we were kids, seeing stuff that we weren't supposed to see was a little bit more of a chore. We'd have to go to a friend's house that we knew had certain things, so under certain, beds. And, now we hand our kids a phone and they have access to any sort of nastiness they want to. And having this just really helps with the peace of mind. And it doesn't make it easier. I mean, I know you can do all this stuff with router settings, and I've had people write me to say that. Mm-hmm. But it's so easy. It's all from your phone. It's just... And seriously, setting it up is super, super simple.
That's awesome. Well, so speaking of kids, though, I know that as of the time of this recording, we have moved back into the school year, and for better or for worse, that can bring its challenges as well as its blessings. I think that the changeover of the routines, for me, I can't wait right now for soccer to be over for both my kids. Right. Because, for example, last night they both had a game. And then tomorrow night, I think they both have a game. And it's just like, oh, my gosh, that's 2 hours. Don't get me wrong. Last night, I took my son to his game, and he made two – he's a 5-year-old. And he made 2 saves as a goalie.
Oh, cool.
And that was awesome. However, to have 3, 4 hours, 5 hours plus a week where the both of them are doing stuff in the evening. And it's not, we're not at home and we're not together, even though we're kind of together. It's just like, oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah, it gets worse. So
yeah, I hear you.
The funny thing is, both of us work at home. So yes. I have a little different situation where I have it was actually a portable building that I finished out years ago. It's nice. It's got a wooden ceiling, and it's all mine. It's my man cave. It's everything that I want. so I can get away from the family. But I always tell people that when school starts, my vacation begins. Because it is hard when they're all at home and trying to figure out schedules and stuff. And now, yes, I mean, I have kids in volleyball and football, and so it's the same thing. Yeah, it feels like you're going every night this week. But yeah, it can be an issue of trying to schedule things out.
Yeah, it can be. And even just the stuff recently. I mean, we've been moving. We sold our house, and then we moved in with mother-in-law for 2 weeks, and now we're in the rental house for a number of months. And luckily I've had this co-working space that I can go to and even have like a conference room that I can reserve and have it be mine, and no one's going to come in. But it's that kind of, you just don't think about the logistics of what do I have to get done, and what are the aspects of my environment that have to be in the right way for me to get it done.
Right.
So,
and I think, for me, I've learned that I have to schedule stuff, early, and then, but also leave times for, to be flexible and not let it affect how I deal with things. Because for some reason, our school, and we go to a small private Christian school where my wife teaches at, and some reason they cannot get a schedule locked down for some of these sports. And so, like, we had a game scheduled for Friday. Well, now it's on Saturday, and the volleyball game now is on Thursday. And I'm like, how am I supposed, as a dad and a businessman, plan stuff when you guys do that? So I've got to, instead of being frustrated, just allow that in my schedule and try to figure out the best way to, to handle that stuff. Because, also, and you and I had talked, but since my wife teaches and I cook everything, so right. I am the cook of the household, mainly because I want to eat what I want to eat, and I can pick it out. But it helps my wife out because she's tired when she gets home, and anyway, so trying to schedule that out as well, because I usually figure out what needs to be cooked, and is it going to be a crock pot night? Is it going to be me on the grill? What's going to happen there? So trying to schedule that out, that's why I get so frustrated with some of these schedules, because I really want us to eat as a family, at least one meal, and I try to do that. But with all the stuff, having a schedule, and it's more and more important for me to be productive during the day, get plenty of rest at night. That's why my carving time and cutting back on TV has really been a success for me.
Yeah. Going into the cooking thing again for a second, do you have any kind of organizational process for that, or is it just, okay, this is what I want, this is what we have? You said you'd been doing more crockpot type stuff lately.
Yeah, I like crockpot because it's easy and there's stuff. I find a lot of since it's the Manly Pinterest Tip Show, I do find a lot of recipes on Pinterest, and I actually have a secret board where I have stuff to try, and then I have another board which I call approved food, which means I've cooked it before, everybody likes it, and I'll put it in that place so I can go back to it and not forget about it. Because I think there's everybody that has recipes. They're like, oh, I wish I remembered how I could do that. And so what I do is I, have a board where I can go back to. It's like, oh, I know we've made this before. I know it's good. And with family, you got to have everybody likes it, and I can go back to that. And I also bought a new grill this summer, which I really like because I can cook and it doesn't heat up the house and I can do stuff. But yeah, I try to plan stuff out for the week and try to do it around schedules, and then I actually plan enough of ahead so I can schedule lunches, because I usually just heat up something I've cooked before, and a lot of times my wife will take something I've cooked to school to eat. So I try to make and plan that so it fits into her schedule and what she likes and has enough variety and all that stuff.
Well, and I have to imagine, because I'll tell you my story here real quick, so for example, today was actually a not normal day. I went home and my wife and my son were there. They're there like 2 days out of the week, and she was able to, I said, hey, I'm going to come home for lunch. And so then I got there and she had something pulled out of the fridge and heated up and all ready for me. So I didn't have to think about it. And that's just one of the things for me is like, I hate having to be like, okay, now what am I going to eat? Because if I have to enter into starting to make a choice about what I'm going to eat, inevitably, if there's not something quick and easy that's also healthy, I'm going to pick the quick and easy that's not healthy.
Yeah, and I'll admit we do that too. I mean, yesterday there's a place that serves the best gumbo, and it's not very far from my house, and I went and grabbed some for lunch because it was a crazy day. But usually, if I can plan stuff out for the week, and I really try to do that, I mean, one, we save money. Two, it's anything you prepare at home is healthier for you, and plus it also causes us to sit down together as a family, even if it's rushed. I mean, even if it's only three of us, I still try to do that. And I can mix it up. And as long as I can plan it out before, and I usually sit there and plan, okay, like here's an example. And I try to do a lot of my cooking if I have to. I can do it on the weekends. So on Saturday night, I cooked up a mess of fajitas. I have a great fajita recipe. It's awesome. And so I did 2 big skirt steaks and like 6 or 8 breasts of chicken because I knew we would eat them all week.
Yeah.
The kids come in hungry, and they can grab some of that. And fajitas are easy to make, and my fajitas are awesome. And so I did all that on Sunday and kind of food prepped it, and it was done. I'm on Saturday and got it done. And the same thing, a lot of times I'll make a big old bowl of Texas chili, and I can eat that for lunch forever. I mean, I love it.
Yes.
And I can, and I have a great recipe, and I can cook a mess of it up on a weekend and have it for a week to eat, and then even freeze some of it to heat up later. So I always try to hack out kind of what the food's going to be for that week and work that into my schedule.
Well, and you and I have both been, over the course of the last, mostly this year, really trying to get back into a healthier state, if you will.
Fighting weight.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Not to fight each other, although that'll be interesting. Yes. So you heard me, because you're in my mastermind, so you were there when I was walking through all of the quote-unquote rules from the and I had a solo episode on this I'll link to in the show notes of this episode, where I talked all about what the rules were, but essentially it was like nothing but drinking nothing but water, and I did allow like a black coffee once every 2 to 3 days or more when I really needed it, in case of an emergency. But no sugar, nothing like that. And then one time on the weekend, I was like allowed to have like beer. And that was about the extent of it. It was like cutting way back on carbs, way back on sugar, eating lots of fruits, vegetables, and protein. And I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, the working out stuff. Duh.
Right.
But anyway, and you actually were already ahead of me in doing some of that. You were doing like, what was it? You were doing like the fasting thing. I forget. How were you working that out?
I still do that. I usually don't eat anything between, it's intermittent fasting, and so you don't eat anything between in the mornings at all until like noon, and then it's like 7 hours, and then you can eat as much as you want until like 7 o'clock, and then you don't eat anything until the next 12 o'clock lunch rolls around. So I still pretty much skip breakfast. I may once in a while eat like a hard-boiled egg if I come back from a workout and feel like I need it. So, and I'm not a super, I'm starting to lift more, trying to do that, but I try to do elliptical. And just recently, I started doing yoga. And the story is I cleaned my office, and when you clean something, you bend over a lot. And I'm like, I am so not flexible anymore. I mean, I'm not. I mean, it's just like, I don't know the last time I touched my toes. I mean, I was like, when was that? Was back in the 80s. Anyway, so I was like, I've got it. So there was this, this sounds funny, but there was a viral thing that was on Facebook about this guy who's on crutches and started doing this thing. And I'd seen it years ago, and then it was very inspirational. At the end, he runs. Like he had crutches on his arms and like Forrest Gump kind of thing. And he finally was able to run. And it was this big thing. Well, I found out when I started looking I want yoga for old men who are not flexible. Is there something for that? And I found this thing, and it's DDP yoga. And I didn't want any of the sit there and stare at your navel kind of yoga. I want to get flexible. I don't want any of the spiritual stuff. I got the spiritual stuff. I don't need any. I just want to be flexible. And so I found this, and it's DDP yoga, and I started doing that like every other day workout, and it's really, really helped. It's really helped my back. It's helped with breathing, which is kind of funny because I just updated my new watch and it has a breathe option on it, which is very, very cool.
I really like that myself too.
It's fun. I mean, it really does calm you down and help you kind of focus a little bit. So I started doing yoga, and it's only been like a month, but I've really noticed I'm starting to be more flexible. It's helped with my back, all sorts of things. So I've added that into my routine. And the other thing, when you were talking about your rules, is, and my wife is doing it too, I just decided to quit drinking until Christmas. I mean, I love beer. I used to make my own beer. The problem when you make 20 gallons of beer is you drink 20 gallons of beer. And I love beer. I like whiskey. I mean, but I said, I am just stopping. I'm just going to do, because, I one of the other things, I was trying to hack my sleep. There's a great book. I heard a podcast with Sean. It may have been on Pat Flynn's, but Sean Stevenson has a book called Sleep Smarter. And one of the main things all sleep experts say is don't drink alcohol. And I would always, have like a glass of wine before bed or something, and then drink, some maybe on the weekend. And I just said, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to drink water, coffee, and I've given up soda for a long time, but that's all I'm going to do. And so it's been about a month and a half, and it's going well, and we'll see. But I told my wife the other night, I said, I really wish it was Christmas because I would really like a glass of wine. But
yeah,
anyway, so I want to see. It has helped me sleep better, and I will attest to that. Giving up alcohol, I don't sleep I can sleep deeper, quicker, and it's letting me fall asleep faster too.
Interesting. I like that. I want to do that myself. In fact, I've essentially been doing that too. Once I heard you, and also Mike Vardy, who has been on the show, will be on the show again sometime soon. I'm sure this will come back up. And I wonder if it's just the idea of having any in your system at all at the time, or if it's just a general lethargicness that it contributes to,
Yeah, I think it's like a depressant it's a depressant that acts like a stimulant or something or the opposite. I can't remember. It's nicotine's the opposite of that. But anyway, I just want, also for health wise, I want to say, if I stop this, because they always talk about, it's the empty calories.
Yes, that's the main thing.
Yeah, it's like, so I'm going to see if that really does make a difference in my weight, and still do the same amount of exercise that I was doing and all that. And I said, well, this kind of helped me do the plateau, because I mean, you and I both talk about looking at Cliff Ravenscraft,
yes,
and the transformation that he's made in his body. I mean, I remember seeing him the first podcast movement, and then seeing him last year at Social Media Marketing World. I mean, it's just like a whole new. It's like, where did Cliff go?
Yeah,
there's
he's like 1/3 the person
he was. Yeah, and I would love to have that. I would love to do that too. So I'm thinking alcohol would be better. Just not doing it. I mean, I missed it the first week or two. I really did. I mean, I liked it. I liked having a glass of wine while I was watching TV. But also, back to our earlier point,
right?
That habit is gone. And what I did is I kind of hacked that is I replaced it with LaCroix. So, if you have a beer or some carbonated thing at night before you go to bed, or wine or something, I replaced it with those just that sparkling water LaCroix stuff that's natural and 0 calories, and that really helped. And so I'll have one or two of those, which is just water. If the wife and I want to watch
just
a
carbonated or something,
and
flavored a little.
Yeah, well, it's flavored with natural stuff, so it's not. There's nothing bad in it, and I'll do that, and I feel I don't miss it anymore, and so I may just continue after Christmas. I don't know. I may just continue it after Christmas too. After having a glass of wine, celebrating the New Year or whatever. And
I think you get to the point where you do it within like a really controlled moderation. Where you have it on the special occasions. It's like, hey, you know what?
Right.
Like it's obviously we enjoy it,
right?
But you don't eat a whole pizza.
Yeah. Well, I could, but
I'll see you there.
Yeah. Well, like I was thinking of this thing too. One of the most relaxing takes I remember in the past year or so is after Social Media Marketing World, when we went and saw the game at the Padres.
What was it? Yeah, San Diego Padres.
Padres game, and we sat there and we had some beer and barbecue.
Yes,
and I'm like, that was I'm like, I hope we can do it again next year, because that was a lot of fun. So I will have a beer then, just because I'm like, that will be a celebration after that conference is over. But I think stuff like that's okay. But not making it part of my routine every night, I think makes a big difference.
Yeah. I could see cutting it out almost completely, other than maybe the once a month, or even to the point where it's like it's the once a week with one specific
The
meal.
thing I noticed though when I was having a drink every night or every 2 nights or whatever is I would find reasons to celebrate. I'd be like,
which in and of itself isn't a bad perspective. But
it's Arbor Day. I'll have a beer for Arbor Day. You'd start making excuses like, I made it back to the garage. Just stupid things, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't need to do that.
But I think the thing there is that then it switches over from celebrating things to, I really could use.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And then you get to the point where you could use them all the time.
Right.
And instead of needing them all the time, you want to switch it to where you don't need it. And in fact, you're healthier to the point where you're doing the things that make you happy and fulfilled. So you don't need it, but then you can enjoy it without guilt. And anyway,
exactly.
You get where I'm going.
Yeah. So that's been a good experiment, and I'm very happy. And Jody, it was hard there because for a while she was like, she really likes Blue Moon, and so she would have a Blue Moon before she would go to bed, and I'm sitting there, sucking on my LaCroix, going, "You dog." And so, but she finally started doing it too, and so we're both doing it until Christmas. So that's kind of fun.
That's good. So what's the plan with Christmas? Like,
we'll probably be winos in the street, drinking Mad Dog 2020 out of a sack or something. No. I don't know. We'll probably have a glass of wine to celebrate, or maybe I'll splurge and get champagne or something. But it's not such a big deal, and I know a lot of. I think maybe sometimes I was even letting me take that edge off so I could go to sleep, and now I don't have that, and so I don't think I need to. There's no need for it there, in the back of my mind. So I just will probably, I may have a sip of wine at New Year's or whatever, and then go back to my LaCroix.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. It's been awesome to talk with you on my show. I always talk with you elsewhere, so I figured my audience should probably hear some of the cool stuff you and I talk about, and this is a great way to do it. So thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
I had a lot of fun talking with Jeff, and I hope you had a lot of fun listening in. I always have fun talking with Jeff, for that matter. I hope that this conversation not only entertained you, but that you were able to think about how the things that we were talking about in our everyday lives in terms of being better husbands and better fathers and better workers, and even just better to ourselves, how you can take what it was we were figuring out and have been figuring out over time, and apply that to your life as well. That's truly my intent for this episode, is that you would have heard even just one little thing that one of us said and thought, I never thought of that, or I struggled with that too, and then maybe got some insight as to how we've started to approach changes in our lives, and I hope that that helps you also. If it has, I'd love to hear from you. Head on over to the show notes for this episode, which you can find at beyondthetodolist.com/152, and leave a comment in the show notes for Jeff or myself. We'd be glad to hear from you. Thanks again to AWeber for supporting this episode of Beyond the To-Do List. Again, make sure to head on over to get those free videos and downloadable checklists that will let you quickly launch those marketing tactics or content creation strategies that you need in order to move your business or creative endeavors forward. They are free. Take advantage of this deal, guys. Head on over to aweber.com/todo. That's AWEBER.com/TODO. Thanks again for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a rating or a review over on iTunes to help others find this show as well. You can find that at beyondthetodolist.com/iTunes. It'll take you straight there. Again, thanks for listening. I will see you next episode. Beyond the To-Do List is a proud member of the Noodle Mix Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at noodle.mx.